Have you ever wondered why we still talk about Zeus, Athena, and Apollo thousands of years after ancient Greece? It's not just because their stories are epic. It's because the Greek gods fundamentally shaped the world we live in today. From the words we speak to the buildings we admire, their influence is everywhere. So, how exactly did a pantheon of mythical beings from a long-lost civilization change the course of human history? Let's dive in and uncover the incredible legacy of the Greek gods. Before we get to the big stuff like democracy and philosophy, let's start with something you use every single day: language. Think about words like Atlas, Echo, Narcissism, or Herculean. These aren't just random words. They're direct echoes from Greek myths. When we talk about a Midas touch, we're referencing the king who turned everything to gold. When we warn against opening Pandora's box, we are invoking the myth of the first woman who unleashed all the evils upon the world. Our vocabulary is a living museum of Greek mythology, proving just how deeply these stories are woven into our culture. And it's not just English. Languages all across the Western world are peppered with these divine references. Now, let's talk about the stars. For millennia, humans have looked up at the night sky in wonder. The ancient Greeks didn't just see random dots of light. They saw their gods, heroes, and mythical creatures. They mapped the heavens with their stories. Constellations like Orion the Hunter, Cassiopeia the Queen, and Pegasus the Winged Horse are all characters from their epic tales. These celestial stories weren't just for entertainment. They were the foundation of early astronomy and navigation. Sailors navigated the seas by these very constellations, trusting the myths to guide them home. So next time you look up at the stars, remember you're looking at an ancient Greek storybook written across the cosmos. This divine map helped humanity explore the planet and laid the groundwork for the science of astronomy that we know today. Perhaps the most profound impact of the Greek gods was on our systems of governance and thought. This might sound strange. How could stories about gods throwing lightning bolts lead to democracy? Well, it's all about the nature of these gods. Unlike the all-powerful, infallible deities of many other cultures, the Greek gods were complicated. They were flawed, jealous, petty, and often made terrible decisions. They argued, they fought, and they had complex relationships. This portrayal of divinity had a huge ripple effect. It taught the Greeks that no authority, not even divine authority, was absolute or perfect. It encouraged critical thinking and debate. If the gods themselves could be questioned, then surely mortal rulers could be too. This mindset created the fertile ground in which democracy could grow. The Athenian concept of demos kratos, or power to the people, was born from a culture that wasn't afraid to challenge authority. The idea that citizens could gather, debate, and vote on laws was revolutionary, and it was made possible by a worldview shaped by these very human-like gods. This spirit of inquiry didn't stop at politics. It fueled the birth of philosophy. Thinkers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle began to ask fundamental questions about the world. What is justice? What is truth? What is the nature of reality? They sought rational explanations for the universe, moving beyond purely mythological ones. But here's the fascinating part. They didn't completely discard the gods. Instead, they debated their nature and role in a rational universe. The myths provided the initial questions, the cosmic drama that philosophers then tried to understand through logic and reason. So, in a way, the entire tradition of Western philosophy, the very foundation of modern science and ethics, started as a conversation with the gods. Let's shift our focus to something you can see and touch: art and architecture. When you see a grand building with stately columns, like the White House or the British Museum, what you're seeing is the legacy of Greek temples. The Greeks built magnificent structures like the Parthenon not just as buildings, but as homes for their gods, primarily Athena in this case. They developed architectural orders, the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthians, that were designed to express balance, harmony, and ideal beauty. principles they believed were divine. This pursuit of perfection in honor of the gods created an architectural language that has been copied and adapted for over 2,000 years, symbolizing power, culture, and democracy across the globe. It's the same with sculpture. Why do so many classical statues look so incredibly perfect and lifelike? Because Greek sculptors were trying to capture the ideal form of the gods. They studied human anatomy meticulously to create representations of divine perfection. This obsession with realism and idealized beauty set the standard for Western art for centuries. From the Renaissance masters like Michelangelo, whose David could be a Greek god, to modern artists. The influence of this Greek pursuit of the divine ideal is undeniable. They weren't just carving stone, they were trying to make the divine visible, and in doing so, they taught the world a new way to see human potential. And what about entertainment? The next time you watch a movie or a play, you can thank the Greek gods for that too. Theater in the West was born in ancient Greece as a religious festival honoring Dionysus, the god of wine, revelry, and theater itself. The great tragedies of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides explored profound human themes: fate, pride, justice through the lens of myths and the interactions between mortals and gods. These plays weren't just simple stories. They were a form of civic and moral education, a way for the community to grapple with life's biggest questions. The concepts of tragedy and comedy, the protagonist's fatal flaw. The dramatic chorusal of these foundational elements of storytelling were invented in the shadow of Mount Olympus. So, from Hollywood blockbusters to Broadway shows, the ghost of Dionysus lives on. Finally, let's not forget the spirit of competition. The Olympic Games, the greatest sporting event on Earth, began in ancient Greece as a religious festival to honor Zeus, the king of the gods. Athletes from different city-states would gather in Olympia to compete in sports like running, wrestling, and discus throwing. Winning was not just about personal glory. It was seen as a mark of divine favor. This link between physical excellence and divine honor elevated sports from a mere pastime to a noble pursuit. The modern Olympic Games, revived in 1896, were a direct tribute to this Greek ideal. The spirit of bringing the world together through peaceful competition is a direct inheritance from these ancient religious rites. So, as we can see, the Greek gods are far more than just characters in old myths. They are the architects of our vocabulary, the first cartographers of our stars, the inspiration for our democracy, and the muses for our art and entertainment. They taught us to question authority, to seek rational explanations, to strive for ideal beauty, and to find glory in competition. By being so perfectly imperfect, so wonderfully human, the Greek gods gave humanity a framework to understand itself and the world. Their stories are not just stories. They are the source code for much of Western civilization. The echoes of Mount Olympus are all around us, a timeless reminder of how mythology can shape reality. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this journey back in time fascinating, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into how history has shaped our world. Let me know in the comments which Greek god is your favorite and why. See you in the next video.